Hi, I'm Gerard. I am mad about type, and today I'm going to show you some basics in calligraphy. Normally if I write I will use some pen like this. It's called a broad nib with some ink. But since you are sitting at home, probably at a kitchen table, you won't have these around. So, especially for you, we try something different. I made up a simple tool that you can make yourself at home probably. You will have some pencils laying around. I've stitched these two together with a piece of tape, resembling the broad nib of the pen I normally write with. First, to show you a little bit on the basics of how this works, writing with a broad nib. The trick is to get yourself some translation while you write. And I mean with translation, I mean form. I'll show you quickly with this circular shape. This is just a circle on paper. And if we write with a broad nib, we would do a trick called translation, and then it will look something like this. I have two circles and they go from thick to thin, and again from the other side. And this would be a circular shape, of course, it's the letter O. This is what I will accomplish by just using these pencils that are stitched together in a similar way. It's not as round as this one. But you can see what happens. First, I would say get yourself a pile of paper, because you're going to practice a lot. Make yourself comfortable sitting, and just take your time. Don't rush, because it will help if you are calm and take your time, actually feeling what your pencil does on the paper. A basic trick to start is just by making a simple stroke. Just vertical from top to bottom. Place your pencils loosely at the paper. Don't press too hard, and just try to make a nice stroke downwards. Repeat yourself a few times, so you get a nice straight line. You will end up with something like this. You can repeat this by doing it horizontally as well. See what you will get there. And you can even combine them, just making a small plus sign. Not sure if you can see this at home, but there's a little trick in the angle that you will place these pencils on paper. You might think just keeping them, and then what I mean with the angle of the pen or the pencils is actually the nib itself. So here I am placing them horizontally with the horizon of the paper. If I would do this, I will just get very broad lines. I don't want to accomplish this because now I have to turn the nib 90 degrees. The trick in writing with a broad nib like this is to keep your pencil or pencils aligned at the same angle all the time. So imagine this is the horizon of the paper. I will keep my nib a little bit rotated and approximately 30 degrees angle. If I write, I will just keep them at this angle at all time. So my hand moves, the nib may yeah, you can move the nib, of course, to another location, but when I write, and especially when I do this circular shape, it's always exactly in the same 30 degrees angle. It's exactly what resembles this graph I started with. And if you do this, you will see you will end up with a nice thick and thin parts automatically. You don't have to do much, you only have to make the circular shape. Try this, you may pause your video at this point and just try to make some nice shapes. And just keep yourself to, at first, the round shape, which is something we can use, or will use a lot, and the vertical shapes, mostly. Okay, if you have tried and you have the feeling you are up for a next level, we can start trying to make some letter shapes, because this is what it's all about. And just circles and plus signs is not very neat. I'll draw again just a simple circle. Try to make a nice one. That's helpful. This circular shape, together with a few shapes that I could place here and here, verticals. If I would cut these up where they intersect, I can build some Lego and make letters out of them. So what you do is you repeat over and over again parts of this basic graph. And I can show you. If I would say I would make the letter A, you just make a little part of the circle, like this. Then I head over to a vertical shape going downwards. And then again I pick up a piece right here from circle again, making a nice serif. So that looks nice, right? Then I move over a little bit, because I can accomplish this like this. I will just start here, draw a line to the left bottom almost, and then again take part of the circle which is located here. I do so, I will connect it, and I'm not sure if you can see it. I can turn it to the camera. I have a very, very rigid form of the letter A. Same thing if I would write the E, for instance. I can start by making half of the circle, just like this, so it's half of an O. Again, take the upper part, going this way, and then finish it off with the diagonal shape, and we'll get something like this. Again, I can also make the letter R out of this. I can make a little part, just same as here with the A. Go in downwards, make a little serif at the bottom. Place my pencil here. And that's where it is. Finish it off by making sure it's all connected. Well, there's a whole alphabet you can do. Must say there are some letters which don't fit into this model. As you can imagine, an X is not in there and an S. So these are different, but most of the Roman alphabet is possible by writing this way. Okay, if you take the letters from this model, you see it's quite rigid. And of course, to make it more aesthetical, you are not bound to have it written this strict. You can round a few of the corners a little bit, and especially if you look at the A, for instance, the belly is, it's very geometrical. So you can try to make it, make sure all the pencils are touching the paper. You can make it a little bit more fluent. Here you see me having trouble connecting. All the pencils to the paper. Starting to look a bit more like it. I can say something about the size to write. Normally, if I use this pen, it's much smaller. The smaller you write, the easier it is to control the nib and to have control over the form. So basically, the larger you write, the more difficult it becomes. But there are some rules of thumb you can use to decide what size your letter should be. Since I'm writing just on the X height, and that comes from the letter X, I can draw an imaginary line here and here. Then I can say the width of my nib, which is now just 3 pencils, so that's actually this width, would be approximately 4 to 5, well, as you can see I have 4.5 now, times the width of your nib is the X height which you will write. If I go smaller, I can do that actually, so maybe I make it only 2 times as high, so I will write between these 2 lines. You will quickly see that you have too little space to actually make something that works. It's starting to get a little bit cluttery. I now have only lines, but imagine that if I would write this with a nib, this would be all black, and this too. So you have very little space to actually make a nice shape. You immediately turn into some trouble getting all the forms in. So keep this rule of thumb. If you like it, if it's a bit more boldish, you can make it smaller. If you want to have a more light feeling, you can make it a little bit bigger. But if you go too big, on the other hand, you will lose all contrast. I'll show you maybe quickly on the back side of this paper. If I make, well, let's try some. If I will make a very large A, or I attempt to make one, you hardly see any difference between thick and thin already. So the bigger you make it, it's also hard to get the proportions right. Yeah, you will lose too much information. So just stick with a smaller size. If you think this is a bit too big to control it at first, you can also start with just putting 2 pencils together. That's already a lot easier to start with. Letters become only 2/3 of this size, which is already quite large if you start doing this for the first time. If you want to go a little bit more black, I have a different setup here, which is just 2 pieces of chalkwood to put together. I will have a similar thickness, but it gives a little bit more black. paper. Maybe you have something lying around. Well, it's a little bit more bold. It's also a little bit more rough on the edges, but you can try and see if this works for you or not. Look at that. Next thing you want to do is try to get some rhythm. And with rhythm I mean a nice composition and with the use of black and white forms on your paper. And try to get the similar shapes even. You can see it's a little bit uneven, but hey, it's handwriting. You want to try to make this and this shape approximately similar. And there's a simple trick is to just write the same over and over again. It's a bit boring to make only N's, but you can make words out of them. Just if you write the word minimum, you'll see what I mean. Won't fit on this line, but hey, an M, an I, an N, and so on and so on. And these are quite similar, and if you make one word, it's nice to have these shapes, also approximately the shapes between the letters, evened out. And you can make a whole piece of paper just writing the same words over and over again. And you will find that if you do this a lot, you will get better. It's also good because you repeat the same motion over and over again. Making a U there as well. And if I zoom out and I look a little bit to my eyebrows, then I can see this is getting somewhere. Same thing with the circular shapes, so making an O. Try to do the same here. Then you can hop over to making actually something like a B. And combine it. You might want to say this when it's not working. I sure hope you liked it to tread your first steps into calligraphy. I only have one last message for you.